Well, thanks for joining us again on the Unlearning podcast. I am here with Karl Forehand, JD Forehand, and I am Stuart Delony. And as always, on the Unlearning podcast, we talk about stuff anywhere from the news, culture, church, mental health, those kind of things. And if you want to reach out to us, give us a shout back or ask us questions, the Unlearning podcast at gmail.com. And yes, so we're going on. This is like the last in our series of Karl's assumptions, because Karl apparently has only had 4 assumptions in his life, and we have finally cleared through all of them. And so the first assumption is we don't need a God, we need people. So yeah, Karl, what's your angle on this? What's your idea on this heresy that you've laid out before us? This may end the podcast. JD and I are so upset.
As we always say, I just kind of make absolute statements just to kind of get people talking and get us thinking about it. I want people to go, that's absolutely wrong. That's not right. Then they'll read further, and then they'll see in what I actually wrote that I'm actually considering and tossing things around, and there may be nuances and differences, different kind of. It's just the way I process things. It helps me to go, well, do we really need God at all? Do we need a God? Do we need an idea of God? Do we need religion? Or do we just need people? And that was kind of where I started off with this.
Okay, so I've got an excerpt for us to tear apart, and then we'll go through this. So everyone, thoughts and prayers for Karl as we're reading through this.
Yeah.
Okay. And Karl, I'm not doing an impression. I'm just going to try to read with my own human voice. I experienced a confusing set of circumstances in my life. I was treated badly, but there were some good people around me. I made both good and bad decisions, and then realized I was missing something. I found Jesus, and he filled a hole in my heart, and now I want to help others realize the same thing. That was my story. We like to think that there's a day of transformation, when we were once lost and now found, when we were blind and now we see. But if we're honest with ourselves, there wasn't really a day when everything changed. That might have been the moment we started to change, but no one moves from deserving hell to being admired by heaven in just one instant. It wasn't that an invisible being zapped us into holiness. It was more of a process. And for 20 years as a pastor, I observed a lack of evidence for such a claim. People don't just change by becoming believers, and often they change very little. They might change addictions, clean up a bit, stop swearing, but that's mostly influenced by peer pressure rather than anything deep.
Now you've done it, you're going to have to read everything. That was beautiful.
Oh, no, stop trying to do that. No.
Ben.
I'm not doing that. I'm getting ready
to no. Right? We got to throw this around here.
Not to get us off topic, but I'm getting ready to write something about small town wisdom and about making the gravy. Because everybody's gathering, there's someone that makes the gravy. Do
you have a good gravy recipe?
She makes the gravy. And the truth about it is gravy is one of the simplest things to make. It's grease and flour and little seasoning. And it's super easy to make. I think what happens a lot of times in families is we'll go, no, that cornbread's great that you brought. We want more of that. You're bringing the cornbread every time. What that means is Mama doesn't have to make the cornbread stuffing this time. Susie, the cousin, makes the best cornbread stuffing, and now she has to make it. So I wasn't manipulating you, but
okay.
Thanks for
reading. I feel like I'm Susie now. You made me Susie.
Yeah.
Thanks. And reading is my cornbread pudding.
So yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot lately and thinking about how I've changed my views on God, right? Who has got my old story was I once was lost, but now I'm found. I'm better and much better. And the truth was that I didn't change a lot. I might have cussed less. I might have done things in private instead of in public and things like that. And I think that's what most Christians feel that they never say is, I didn't change much. I'm not committing crimes maybe, but I may be still manipulating people. I may have changed from, drinking heavily to some other kind of habit, or I might have made church my habit, my thing that I use to feel connection and some of those things instead of doing this other thing. But in reality, there wasn't something magnificent out there that could change me in an instant, like it says in all the songs and we preach in all the sermons. So that's kind of the basics behind it. Every time we talk about community, every time we talk about attachment and things like that, we always say we need community, we need connection. We believe we're hardwired for connection. But, then we find out in deconstruction, you find out that we're not really connected with God. We say we have a relationship with Jesus, a relationship with God. He doesn't ever talk to me. He doesn't. People would say I need a plan and a purpose for life. I need a plan and a purpose because God has a plan and a purpose for me. But I can tell you 95% of the people in the audience in churches that I pastored said, I don't know what it is. I can't find God. So still trying to find God's purpose. And when something happens, all they're doing is going, maybe it's this, maybe God meant this, or maybe I'm teaching me a lesson, maybe God needed an angel. They're not really discovering God's plan and purpose. They really haven't been transformed overnight, like they said. Mm-hmm. But what we do know and what keeps getting reinforced is we really need people. We really need relationships. We really need human caregivers. We need to be attached. When we're born, that's abundantly true. We need the care of a caregiver. Usually the mother is that primary that provides us with food and shelter and later guidance and just makes that attachment and helps us grow. And then they start to learn from the mother's example and on. But do we really need God? I wrote here, with the caregiver, we grow, mature, and begin caring for ourselves. But if there's a God, we can still survive without believing in a specific God. People do it every day. Every day, atheists and agnostics live fully productive lives and care about people and care for the poor and treat their families well and all of that. So the question is kind of becomes, do we really need God? So
well, that's all fine and well till you die and wake up in hell. That's the answer. That's just the only answer that you have for those. I mean, not you, but I mean that folks would. I mean, yeah, I think that you mentioning people have these experiences at church that oftentimes, I mean, the power of groupthink, the power of the emotional swells during the church when you are going to go down to the aisle to make this decision. Ritual can be very powerful for people, emotionally and otherwise, and it can end up feeling transcendent. And folks will yes, this is my experience. Sure. And then you're going to just keep chasing it. What is it? The first high that you've ever had when smoking meth. I mean, that's been my experience. Smoking meth is the first high is always the best. And but you're always chasing.
Yep. You said it's the exact same thing.
People do chase the dragon in religious circles. They chase and it's literally chemicals released in your body, and it's a euphoric experience. It's a deeply emotional thing, and we know how those happen. We know what that is.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the data too, restarting like that, having a new start of oh, I'm saved or whatever. You're talking about making those changes in life habits. It's like a New Year's resolution or something. It does, for some people, it does have an effect. You're okay, this is the day that I start something new, and then you're more motivated to do it. So it does make sense that some people they see some progress in their lives, but yeah, it's not a silver bullet.
Yeah. I'm okay with resolutions and goal setting, right?
Yeah.
Even having those emotional experiences and going to concerts and listening to people speak and being motivated and encouraged and excited. And all those things are great, but do we really need God to have that experience?
Well, also, I want to push that too, is what's the difference? Because you're mentioning resolutions, goal setting, these are all abstract ideas. Just like an angry man that's in the clouds having all of these expectations on us. They're both abstractions, and we're just using those abstractions to motivate ourselves to move forward. So sure, it could, I can be motivated by a teddy bear too, if I will myself and my brain to do it.
So if you say, but God created you and gave you the ability to do all these things, I respond, fine. But even if God provides the mechanism, it was me, my coaches, teachers, and parents who really made me who I am. We can discuss that, but but
you wouldn't have been out. You wouldn't have even existed without God. Boom, owned, atheist.
Right.
Conversation's over. Roll credits.
And I would say, if I had to say directly about my belief in God, I believe more in God as the architecture of the universe, not the architect. Because it's back to the same old discussions. If he's an architect, if he's the ruler of all the world and knows everything and so on, he should communicate better and all kinds of things like that. But I can understand if he's the architect, because I can look at cells and how the mitochondrial, the network of trees and fungus and stuff, how that works in the forest and so on. I can look at stuff like that and go, there's something really magnificent about that. Mm-hmm. And when you look at cells and see the things that, so there's an architecture to it that's really amazing. And if you want to call that God, that's fine. When we create him in our own image and say, I need this, I need him to do something magical to me, whether that's when I need healing or when I need guidance or when I want to be saved, delivered from my existence. I don't think we need that. I don't think we need God to transform. I think we need people. But we can't get away from the fact that we need people. You just can't get away from that.
Yeah, for sure. Spoken like a true cannibal.
Yeah, I was going to say, Stuart, get a load of this guy talking about mushrooms and forests and esoteric ideas. It's clearly somebody's been getting a little too into the pot shops. Am I right?
Yep, I know.
Taking a little advantage of that weed legalization in Missouri, aren't we? Huh?
Like 2 miles from my house now.
Well, yeah, he knows exact distance. He's like, it's like 1.7 on my odometer when I roll down there, but
a lot of Nebraskans come across the border.
That's where the demonic portal is, Karl. That is where you're being influenced by all of this.
Commune with Beelzebub.
Yeah.
So I wrote, but we still need people. We need people. We're learning about the brain and how it works and how trauma affects us. We volunteer at conferences where we learn more about trauma in the brain and so on, helping us better support other people. We spend time together, like we'll be doing tomorrow. I don't know what was tomorrow. Instead of going to church with people who wouldn't hang out with us if we stopped attending, who didn't hang out with us after we stopped attending. And then I said, we don't need a God, we need people.
Yeah, I was thinking also about what you were kind of mentioning with like talking about other people who are atheists and agnostics, but even, I mean, the largest religion, if you include Catholics, which most evangelicals wouldn't include Catholics, is Christianity, but that's still only like 20, like upper 20%, 28% or something. Yeah. So most people get through without it, and like, or they get through with a different God, but then Christians would argue that's not a God. So, I mean, by that logic, they're doing it without a God. They make these transformative things. They run ultra marathons or whatever thing you want to say. They improve themselves every day, and it doesn't require a God or your God or whatever. So the evidence is already there.
Yeah, big discussion of the in the U.S. is always where do you get your morality? I mean,
Walmart.
You've been all over Asia, right?
Yeah.
And you see, in Taiwan, it's the only place I've ever been.
Is morality cheaper over there?
In the Orient, in Asia.
Is it? Okay. Timu.
First, I thought Stuart was
morality.
Canceled. Now it's you, Dad. Morality.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, they don't. I mean, it's just a preposterous thing, and I think it's very similar to what you said earlier, talking about the people who talk about spanking. It kind of reveals a lot about the person who's saying it, because like a lot of people will be like Christians, especially evangelical Christians, even more so. Well, if I didn't have the Bible, I would do all this terrible stuff. It's like, well, then you're just a bad fucking person. Like that's not
right.
Like if the only thing keeping you from like murdering people is a collection of translations written hundreds of years ago, or translated hundreds of years ago, written even longer ago, like that's pretty bad. That's an indictment of yourself, I think. But I don't know. I mean, again, clearly there are societies that are not based on Christianity and that are based on even like atheistic or whatever pantheistic views, any sort of ideas you want, they've worked and they've failed. It's clearly not the defining variable in this equation. So, yeah, if you look
my
at
only pushback, JD, is okay. Is again, I'm going back to the data. I'm going back to the math. Okay, I prayed to accept Jesus in my heart when I was 7.
Right.
I have committed no raping since then.
I mean, hey, good odds. And again, we got to work through these things. Right?
Yeah.
It seems like you've made progress.
It was. I have. Yeah, I have. It totally changed everything.
True Christians have.
I think a lot, the other thing that you mentioned was about moving some activities to the dark, and I think that's what a lot of Christians do.
Yeah.
Just keep it from.
We talk so much about mental health, but I just love the paradox of really kind of what we're dancing around. I mean, it's what we've been kind of told. The only way for me to truly know myself better is to know God. What the fuck does that even mean?
It's a nice thing to say.
It is, but in actuality, but I mean, people preach this. This is major thoughts that get shoved down on us, and it's completely paradoxical and nonsense if you actually think about this.
But it's ludicrous. A lot of people don't ruminate on it or take it home. They just go, well, good sermon today, Pastor. And then but these are all things that are, number one, it's like cult language where it's just like things that we all repeat. We don't really know what they mean. They can they're very amorphous in their meaning. There's a thing I've actually been reading about. I want to do a lecture on this for my class. There's this term called have you guys heard of the term thought terminating cliche? Thought terminating cliche.
Yeah, I've heard before. Things like that.
Yeah. Educate us.
It was created by a linguist, I believe, in the 60s, or I don't know if it was created by him, popularized by him. In the 60s, I believe, Robert J. Lifton. But anyway, basically, it's just a thing that you say, like, for instance, if you were in church and you said, oh, I just lost a loved one, you're really broken up about it. It's the thing that they say to get you to stop talking, basically. Or a better example is if you're asking questions, because this is really where it gets into the cult, especially is, hey, but what about this? And they say, well, God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's just a way to get you to stop asking questions or stop searching down that rabbit hole, essentially.
Right.
And I think it's once you have, and this is why I think it's important to define terms and to understand these things and to look at the actual academic literature and not to sound not to be an elitist, because I don't. Most of this stuff I've just done my own research on Google Scholar and stuff. But anyway, I think that's why it's important, because when we have that vernacular, it's much easier to talk about these things. And at least for me as well, as I've learned more and more about it, it's been a lot easier to recognize, obviously. Even understanding concepts and then going to having verbiage to define the concepts helps a lot. At least speaking for me personally.
I always appreciate your elitist perspectives.
I do my best.
It's really good.
It does strain my eyes to look down from this ivory tower, but that's why I wear the shades.
We appreciate the sacrifice.
It is. It's a lot. You give and constantly give.
You give and give and give.
I need to beat myself a lot, stooping down to come on this podcast.
Praise be to Almighty God. So, Stuart, do you want to read the story there? You still got it up?
The story.
Stuart deleted the file.
I know.
He's like, I'm not reading anything else.
I did. I'm never reading anymore again. What is the story?
Yes.
Consider one last story. Read. Okay. You gave me instructions.
If you don't want to read it, Stuart, I'll read it in RFK's voice.
It's like I'm reading it. Yes. Stuart now reads this. Oh wait, no. Okay. A boy whose parents abused him ends up in an orphanage. He struggles with life, goes to jail, doesn't meet God, but he meets a man who connects him with another man who employs ex-cons. After this release, the young man reconnects with him, gaining experience, wisdom, and real help through counseling and therapy. He begins to excel at carpentry and eventually starts his own business. Even if he finds religion, I know, I was thinking that too.
Found Jesus. He found God.
Carpentry, man.
Did Jesus need God, though? That's the question. Or did he just need community and people?
I think he needed God, because I'm wondering if he was a shit carpenter, and that's why he went into ministry.
That's possible, yeah.
So
but then that would mean his real world dad was also shit at carpentry, because he was actually a carpenter, Joseph, right? And,
yeah.
This is tough. Also, God just
or it was just always so. I don't know if you're not my dad. I can hold the hammer however I want to.
Yeah.
Tell me what to do.
Sorry. We're back to But boy, okay, orphanage boy. Sorry. Even if he finds religion, it's the support and assistance he receives from people that truly make a difference.
Yeah, and I see that as someone.
Disagree.
I know you're about to say something. Sorry, Stuart.
It was God.
I did
mysterious
some work
ways
inside of prisons when I was first a pastor. We worked with meth addicts. We worked with bikers and so on.
Did you work with Stuart?
Not
when
with Stuart.
That's where we met.
Never had the privilege. But I want to tell you, some of them that found religion inside prison and didn't have the right human support around them were also some of the biggest assholes I've ever met in my life. And they didn't transform and lead productive lives without human intervention, the right relationships, mental health counseling, and some of those things. They needed the people in their lives way more than they needed some kind of miraculous experience that totally changed them forever. I just don't believe that anymore.
Yeah, it's almost like
it's hard work. Change is hard. Just change is hard, and there's no miracles. There's no, you kind of wish there was some sort of either a spiritual or something for mental health, like some sort of Ozempic that we can just, it's all better, it's easy, because we want that. Christians want the miracle, they want the snake oil, they want the easy answers, but it's not. It's hard.
There is one, Stuart, it's called heroin, but...
Okay, yes.
It's fast acting, but not super long, so...
It is.
You have deep pockets if you want to... Yeah, deep pockets if you want to work on that.
Okay.
But
not my
cannabis
recommendation.
is legal, so anyway.
It's true. Not quite as... Yeah.
Carl, you sound like you're enabling problems.
Yeah, I'm causing problems.
You're leading us astray.
Could you read the last part? Do you mind? I like hearing you read.
Okay, the last part. You're talking about the summary?
Yeah.
Okay. If we understand that attachment and trauma awareness solve more problems than religion, we can eliminate all other elements of religion. We could redirect all the money spent on religion to create a nonprofit that helps people like him in everyday neighborhoods. We could replace unnecessary things with essentials. Instead of relying on pastors, church buildings, and worship services, we could develop programs that genuinely foster genuine connections. And most of our practices could be sustainable, could be substituted with mindfulness and meditation instead of praying to a God with communication issues. Keep going.
Yeah.
What about spending time with people? My relationship with my family of origin and the suffering I endured for 20 years in ministry were quite tricky. What if I had spent that time actually with my extended and immediate family? Would JD have come out better?
Probably not.
Yes. Yeah. Would Lars sleep better at night? Sorry. Back to what if we had focused on understanding how our brains work and how our trauma response systems activate instead of studying the books of the Bible?
You can do God's
inspired word.
Yeah, I'm not totally against religion. I'm not totally against learning about the Bible. I'm not totally against meeting together. And because there are regulating things in religion, there are good things that came out of religion. It's just the package that it's wrapped up in tends to cause more harm than the good it produces, in my opinion.
Yeah, the simple words of Jesus kind of get lost in the mix of the dickheads and other scripture that they tend to elevate because it pushes their worldview and tells us we're allowed to hate the people we want to hate.
Yeah, or they just make up a lot of stuff too, which is always fun. Just playing make 'em ups.
So what nobody wants to hear is that I don't need God but they still can't make a case for it. Can you make a case for it scientifically that I actually need God? Do I need an illusion? Do I need that illusion? Really?
It's against the principles of science. It's untestable, so of course not. But it's all.
But I can prove to you that I need people. I need the right people. And I need good people. And
so, Carl, are you saying there's more evidence proving that Bigfoot exists than God?
The paranormal people were big into Bigfoot. And that was some interesting discussions we had. I would recommend anybody go on a paranormal investigation. It addresses so many of your fears, I think, about that kind of thing. I think it's good for people. I'm glad I did that. I don't want to invest a lot of time and money into it, and it's not going to be my new religion or my new hobby even. But I had a great time, and they always talked about Bigfoot too. And I just didn't have anything to add.
It's okay to listen to.
I'm pro Bigfoot.
That's what I usually do when I come home from some event late. I ride in the taxi. I just immediately ask the taxi driver to talk about politics, and they talk the whole time until I get home. Mm-hmm. I don't have to do much but go, yeah, Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's great.
That's those rules for winning at life there, JD.
You get cool stories too, and people think you're a good listener. They think you're nice. Mm-hmm. Like they think you're smart and like you're really listening to them, which I usually try to do, but like, I think it's a win-win.
Some of it's white noise, right? At some point.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm like looking at my phone, texting a little bit, but it's okay.
Really,
not what Jesus would do.
You got to do that sometime. I mean, that's in honesty, like obviously with actual focused listening, but like a big part, not all obviously, but a big part of like therapy and stuff like that is just listening to someone and letting them talk, letting them get like giving them the space that they can get stuff that they haven't had the guts or haven't or are afraid or don't want to bring up old whatever. Gives them the space to talk about those things that they need to talk about. So
I would just look back at my life and encourage everybody to look back at your life and look back over. You're 50 years old. Those 50 years, how much of your success, your progress, your healing was something miraculous that happened? All of a sudden, you were lost, now you're found. You might have had that feeling, but really that was a start to something else. And did God supernaturally do something with you, or did you use that as an excuse? And weren't most of the times due to someone that invested time in you and, like JD said, listen to you, even if you have weird political views. Was it a human connection, really, that made the progress in your life? Just like your mother, when you were an infant.
Part of what you talked about there, though, is like, that's why I wonder about the salience or the choice to lead with like, there's no God, because I feel like a lot of people, you could get them to that point you could still get them there with getting them to look into stuff, but I think people get defensive. I think that's part of it is when you say like, okay, prove there's a God, they're going to be like, or if you were talking about the thing that made me think about that was you're talking about these miraculous things. It's because it's all in your head. To some people, it is a miraculous thing. It's a dream they had. It's their conversion experience when they did do that altar call, and it felt like something they never felt before. Yeah. Again, you could say, yeah, they get the same thing at a concert, but to them, they couldn't, because again, they're always chasing that dragon like Stuart. So that's my thing is I wonder how this is going to be good for the audio medium. I think that's why you got to go to the YouTube, everybody. Jr. This is going to be a YouTube plug for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's why I tend to, and I know you love to be incendiary online. I try to go the opposite way and just like the same thing with I was talking about listening to the taxi drivers. Like sometimes I vehemently disagree with what they're saying about politics. I'm like, I can easily refute this with like a Wikipedia page. Like the way you're saying is asinine, but it still lets them get it out. You get that off your chest. Again, talking about regulation, things like that. Then we might be able to have the discussion. It's the same thing when I deal with a kid that's pissed off and gets in a fight at school. I'm not going to be like, okay, you need to remember everything I say starting right now. Like, I'm like, okay, what happened? Tell me all about it. And then we go through that process. They calm down. Then I can have some sort of teaching moment or discussion like you would with these people who are in church that you're trying to change their mind. And then you give them a few years. And then that's when you start going, all right, here's your Hail Satan shirt. We burn the Bibles on Thursdays and we slay the goats and infants on Saturdays. And then you'll get them
Saturdays.
Into it's Saturday.
Thank you.
We're Seventh-day Adventist Satanists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've often said I don't know if I could be an atheist because it's too dogmatic. It's too absolute, right?
So, yeah, I feel the same way. You can't prove it's the same thing as the God thing to me. You can't prove it. So
you're not a theist. You're an anti-theist. You're an atheist.
Pretty anti-religion, but
so push back on this assumption. Then, after listening to like Karl's assumptions, I'm curious, and this will be unpopular potentially, but I feel more and more like that people simply just want to be told what to think and how to feel. They just don't want to use their minds. They want to be told what to think and how to feel. And their comfort, there's a lot of comfort in having rote beliefs that you really didn't do any work to achieve, but you've just been told over and over again. And I feel like this is the problem, and this is what religion pushes towards. It's because most people just don't want to fucking think, and they want somebody else to think for them.
Yeah. It's a learned codependency. That's what I call it. And it's from the moment you walk in the door, that's okay. You can relax now. We're going to tell you what to think, how to act, who to be, who you are, what you should do, what you should think, what books you should read. Just relax. We got it. Just listen to us. Don't ask
I think
questions.
for a large segment of the church population, it's not even that complicated. I think for a lot of people, it's I checked the box and went to church. My neighbors aren't going to gossip about me. Or now I can
That's good. Yeah.
hoard this over someone else. I'm trying, or I can go, well, at least I'm not as bad as that fucking bum that stays home and watch football on Sundays.
A lot of that.
Yeah. Most of what it is, because it's all about this identity and class thing.
Even though the Bible says not to compare yourself to other people, that's exactly what we do from the get-go.
Take the board out of your own eye, and
now you're better. Now you're better than them. So whoever they are,
it's real though. I mean, that's how I feel about being a vegetarian. I simply do it out of spite. I'm just like, I'm better than you. I could never do that. I know you couldn't. You're weak. Not me.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Are you a kosher vegetarian? Do you keep things kosher as a vegetarian?
In terms of like actually following kosher rules, or
no? I was just assuming what meat you can and can't eat as a vegetarian.
I generally try to stay away from most of them.
Okay.
I'm not even eating the Hebrew hot dogs or whatever the fuck they're called.
Okay.
Man, hot dogs. Oh, my stomach hurts thinking about hot dogs.
Wow. Each their own.
Karl sounds like he's like chasing the dragon of a chili dog.
Yeah.
Already like
chili cheese dog.
Shouldn't have eaten that last night.
Why people eat hot dogs like in one bite and they wolf them down, because just trying not to think about what's inside that thing.
You just want all the salt.
Did you learn that from working in prison? If it's unpleasant, you just
no comment.
Shower duty.
No. Stuart, your head is complicated.
At first, I thought you were talking about his physical head. I was like, that's rude. I was like, we're talking about a lot of bullshit on this podcast. We haven't started talking about phrenology yet, I don't think. Stuart, the dimples on your left and right temples you have the cranial shape of a criminal.
Yeah. When you said the word head, I thought you went in a totally different direction as well, too, with it. But this is. I think this is probably where we end. No,
yeah, prison showers. That's where we end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't forget to get T11's book. You guys remember the name? The Well-Behaved Wife. Something like that.
This is the worst shout out ever. After we just mentioned prison showers and
we really
and an enlightening book.
What it's called,
it's called A Well-Trained Wife. You need to be a well-trained podcast host and remember the fucking name of the book, Dad.
Yeah, she's going to cancel before we even get to the interview.
You're fumbling the bag really hard.
Love you guys. We'll see you later, man.